creating or designing the database is creating the ERD. What's the next step? Next step is mapping the ER, mapping the ERD. What does it exactly mean? Mapping the ERD. Mapping the ERD means converting the ER into a relational scheme, or keep the ER. It's not really converting. The ER is here, but we will generate the relational scheme upon the ER. So maybe the one who gonna generate the relational scheme is not the same person who create the ER. It's okay, no problem. Because after meeting the client and creating the ER, no need to return back to the client. The ER enough to be mapping. It's enough. So let's see how can we do it. I will return back to our previous examples. Okay, we have the example of the workshop, we have the example of the library, we have the example, yeah, that's it. Let me go back to the repair shop. Where is it? Screenshot. What's this? Okay, we have this example as well. Let's start with this example. Mapping. Oh, you don't, I'm not sharing my screen with you, I'm sorry. Share my screen. Okay, so we have this example, which is something simple. How many relations we will have upon what we see? So guys, there are rules. There are rules for mapping the ER. Let's depend on these rules to map any ERD. Rules of mapping the ERD. Every entity set is a relation. Every entity set is a relation, and attributes with all attributes, with all its attributes. How we do this? Let me go back. I'll show you how we do it upon the example which we have seen. The example is an employee with dependent. Maybe you can't see it here, but you can open it there because I send it to you. We have employee and dependent. Employee is entity set, dependent is entity set. So when we create the relational scheme, relational scheme, what we do, we have to start with the first relation. Every entity set is a relation. The word relation here means table in another way. So we have employee. How we do it? We draw as something like this, and then start putting the attributes. What are the attributes? Not from ourselves, from the ERD. Don't add, don't miss. What in the ERD we have? We have imp ID, imp name, imp address, which is a composite. We have DOB, we have age, which is a derived. We have imp contact, which is a multi-valued attribute. So I will start with imp ID because it's the primary key. Imp underscore ID. Then I make a line and underline here. Then I have imp name, imp age, DOP, okay. Now for the composites, the composite, what exactly we have in the composite? If you look at the ERD, you will find its imp address, and imp address is a composite which consists of street, city, postal code, building number. Here in the scheme, we have to write only the branches, not the composite. So I don't need to write here the imp address, but the branches, like what? Street, building number, postal code, city, street, city, postal code, building number. Okay, you understand this? Guys, Awad and Sanjay, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm taking from the ERD. If you look at the ERD, you will not find email, you will not find country. So you cannot add anything here at this stage. We are generating the scheme upon the ERD, not from scratch. Do you understand? Okay, so now, yes, start with the primary key. So now, if we look back at the example, we have the multivalued attributes. The multivalued attribute must be a separate relation. Every multivalued attribute, this is rule number 2, every multivalued attribute is a separate relation. Separate relation. So what I'm gonna do here, I'll create another relation for the end contact. Now, what are the attributes? The attributes for the multivalued attribute will be the primary key of the main entity, which is imp id, and the contact. So, separate relation with two attributes the primary key of the main entity set and the name of the attribute, and both of them will be primary and the primary key of the main entity set is a foreign key. So guys, here both of them are primary. Actually, the primary key is 1. We always have 1, but here in this case it is composite primary key. The composite primary key is a primary key which contains two attributes. Yes, both of them are part of the primary key, so the primary key taking both. And what? The imp ID is a foreign key. How we represent the foreign key here? By arrow. So I will take this color for the arrow. What does it mean, this arrow here? It means this is a foreign key and it refers to this primary key. So that the direction of the arrow is important. What else do we have? We have a weak entity, which is dependent. Dependent is a relation. So here, dependent. What are the attributes? All attributes plus the primary key from the owner. Let me write it as a rule. Every week entity is a relation with all its attributes and the primary key of the owner entity. The primary key is the owner is the primary key of the owner with the primary of the weak entity together. So here, what I have for the dependent, I have dependent ID, dependent name, date of birth, relation. You can't see the text, no problem, I know. I will send you the text, but I'm just writing it here, step by step. So what do we have? We have the dependent ID, it's a part of the primary key. We have the employee ID, which is the primary key of the owner entity. We have the dependent name, I'll tell you why we underline this, and dependent DOB, and finally relation to the employee. What is the foreign key. The imp ID is a foreign key, sorry, it has to be underlined, and we have to put arrow here. Why the contact is underlined? Who can tell Rahul why the contact here is underlined? Whenever we have a multi-valued attribute, when we map the ER, we must create separate relation for that multi-valued attribute with two attributes: the primary key of the main entity and the name of the attribute, and both of them together make the primary key. Yes, that's true. The imp ID has a fixed value and it cannot be changed, cannot be duplicated. Let me, guys, explain it. Let me give you an example. Uh, I want you to imagine the table. Imp ID. Suppose this is the imp ID, whatever. And the contact number. No, not whatever, not whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is the imp ID. Now, what's the phone number for this employee? The phone number is this. Okay, let's write it in the Canadian way. 905 dash blah blah dash 4 numbers. Now this employee has another phone number. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, 9. What is the other phone number? It's 416 dash dash. So here as you see, we duplicated the primary key, right? The primary key cannot be duplicated, so this is wrong. What do you think? Is it wrong? Why it's not wrong? Why it's not wrong? I'll tell you why. Because this is not the primary key. Exactly. together make the primary key. I didn't duplicate or repeated them together. When part of the primary key is repeated, it's normal. But not both, no, not because it's foreign. This has nothing to do with the foreign. I'm talking about the duplication of this, which is the primary key. Now, if the employee ID primary key and the contact is not, I can't do this. I can't repeat. Now, when somebody has multi contacts, this is the meaning of multi-valued attribute. Somebody has multi contacts. How can I write all of them? I have to repeat the ID. But if the ID is the primary key, I can't repeat it. But both of them are making the primary key. So the ID actually is not the primary key, it's part of the primary key. Repeating part of the primary key is allowed. Repeating all parts of the primary key, not allowed. So I repeat the same employee with different contact number. That's why both of them. Here is the same. Here is the same. The employee, suppose the employee has wife and 2 kids. How many times I will repeat the emp ID? 3 times. For wife, for first kid, for second kid. But every time, different ID for the dependent. Do you understand? And through the foreign key, we can refer back to the referenced relation to know more, like here. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake, by the way. I made a mistake. Okay, now if I have any dependent, I will have the dependent ID, employee ID, blah blah blah. If I need to know more about the imp, I will go with the arrow here and I can find all information about the employee. It's the same here, the emp ID and the contact. This is the emp ID. Who's this employee? How can I know? I go back with the arrow, I'll reach here, so I find all details about this employee and so on. Okay, so here we have 3 rules. I already wrote them and I showed you how to do them. Let's take the other example, which is the, let me see, I will take a screenshot of this to send it to you. Okay. Let me open another example. Okay, guys, so I know you can't see my example here, which I opened, but you can see it if you open the library example. The library example, I already sent it to you through Moodle. Let's open it and have a look. What do we have? We have the author, book, member, copy. All of these are entities. So let's create the relational scheme author and book, copy, and number. Okay, let's start with the author. Okay, in red line, no problem. What do we have for the author? Let me see. I only have here in the AR, I only have the name. But because I didn't want to write many things, but we can assume we have the author name, the author number, the author contact, address, something like this. So for the author, we have author number, which is the primary key. Author is not correct. Author, author, author. This is not flexible at all. If I choose another tool, that's better. You know what? Yeah, I will choose another tool. Stop sharing. Share my screen. That's better so you can see everything. Oh, this is the uploading of the recording to my channel. Let me go to the paint tool. Okay. So you can see now for the author we have only the name, but as I told you, let's assume we have more. So let me start writing here. Not relation. Yeah, relational scheme for the library ARD. Author. Oh, wow. plane. Where's the plane? Plane is here. Let's delete this. Okay. What do we have? We have the author. Let's say OUT number. And we have author name. Okay, that's it. Whatever we have of the author, we can add. Let's go to the next one, which is the book. If the author, for example, has multi-valued attribute, we need to create one for it. Okay, we have, yes, any questions? Yeah, that's true. The author number is a primary key. Now for the book, what do we have? We have ISI. Let's have a look. We have ISBN, title, number of copies. ISBN, this is the primary key. Title, maybe we have more, like the number of pages, the publisher, whatever. But let me suppose we have these, and number of copies, number of copies. What else? We have copy. For the copy, if you look here, availability and copy number. But don't forget, the copy here is a weak entity, so we need the ISBN. So we have the copy number and we have the ISBN and we have availability. The copy number with the ISBN both together are making the primary key. But the ISBN is what? Is a foreign. So let's draw it as a foreign key. So we have an arrow from here to here. Now, what else? We have the member. Let's take down the member. What do you have for the member? Membership number, name, address. Okay, enough. Number. Number, name, and member address. Member number is the primary. Okay, guys, now let's look at relations. Copy with the ISBN, with the book, we have done this. Now, we have member with copy, we have author with with book. Both relations are many to many. We have a rule. Let me continue rules. These are the rules. Every many to relationship is a separate relation with attributes are the primary key from both entities or entity sets, and any other attribute on the relationship if exists. Here we have no attributes on relationships, so we will just take the primary key from here and the primary key from there. What I have to do, I have to create more, like here, author with the book. I need to create rights as a relation. So here the relation name, writing, because I don't use a verb, I have to use a name. So writing relation consists of two attributes, which are author number and book number, ISBN. So I have author number and ISBN. both of them are primary. Both of them are foreign. So here, I didn't return to convert it to. I didn't take it as red. Author number referring here, ISBN referring ISBN here, and member with the copy the same, borrowing. We have the copy number and the member number. Both of them are primary. Both of them are copy here and number here. Okay, guys. So the rule says every many-to-many relationship is a separate relation with attributes are the primary key from both entity sets and any other attributes on the relation. Any questions? Yes, you can write in any order. And which relationship left? Which one? Has? It's here. Book and copy. We have the relation here. Let me take a screenshot to send it to you later. And go to the other one. Where is it? 16, maybe this one. Yes. How to represent one-to-one? Okay, I'll tell you. Let me continue rules. One-to-many relation If it's one to many, what we can do? Let me show you here which relation we have one to many. We have computer needs repair job. Computer customer owns computers. And repair job payments. Customer pays payments. What else? Repair job uses items. So we have many of them. The rule says when we have many to many, one to many relationship, we must put the primary key of the one side into the many side. Let's represent customer with computers. Come on, take a long time. Okay, so here we have computer and customer. Let's create relation for both. Customer. For the customer, what do we have? Let's see. Oh, here. Customer number, customer contact, customer name. Who wants to talk? Sangeeta, what do you want to say? Customer number, customer name. Maybe the contact is a multi-valued, but here, as you see, no, I can't hear you. The customer contact, if it's double-lined, it will be multi-valued attribute, but it's not here, so I will not make it multi-valued attribute. Okay, I saw that question. Just wait. So here we have customer name and customer contact. Customer.
Okay, sir.
Yes. I saw your question and I will answer it. Don't worry. Now for the computer. What do we have? We have SIN type description. Upon the rules, SIN is the primary. So now, upon the rule here, the primary key from the one side added to the many side as a foreign key. So I will add the customer number as what? As a foreign key. Oops, no. Okay, doesn't matter. So guys, if we look here, we will find customer number added to the computer. The SIN will be added to the repair job because it's one to many. The customer number will be added to the payments because it's one to many. The job number will be added to the payments because it's one to many. The job number will be added to the items because it's one to many. So every time you find one to many, you must take the primary key from the one side and add it to the many side. The performs here, as you see, the performs, it's many to many. So for the performs, we need to create a separate relation. We only underline the primary key. The foreign key, no. So, do you understand this? Your question, Sangeeta, how to represent cardinality. You saw now how to represent cardinality. How cardinality is important. Cardinality is very important because when we have one to many, we depend on the cardinality to know which primary key moved to which entity set and which one is the foreign key. And we know upon the cardinality, many-to-many relationship must be taken as a separate relation. Now, the last possibility, if the relation is one-to-one, what can we do? We understand the many-to-many, we understand the one-to-many. Of course, one-to-many, many-to-one are the same. Now, for one-to-one relationship, what we will do? If it's one-to-one, we have two possibilities for the participation. When the cardinality one-to-one, we look at the participation because both are one, so they are the same. We have to look at the participation. What we do, if participation partial and total, or if the participation partial and partial, and if the participation total and total. So, for one-to-one, look at the participation. Both total. Merge the two entity sets in one relation. Both partial. So guys, if both total, merge. Don't create, okay, merge the two entity sets in one relation that takes all the attributes of both entity sets. And any of primary keys is okay. Let's look at an example before we go to both partial. Let's take an example. Suppose we have entity and entity. Let's say, for example, what's this? Student and what? What is an example for students? seat. Suppose locker. Suppose we have lockers. So we have for each student one locker. Of course, the student will have student ID, student name, student address, whatever. And for the locker number and locker location. Maybe we have something like side. Which side is it? Okay, locker side. Now, suppose the relation between them is many to suppose the relation between them is 1 to 1 and total. So the relation is what? The participation is total and it's 1 to 1. We make one relation. What's the name of the relation? You can name it both, like student locker. Locker number. Locker location. Locker side. Student ID. Student name. Student the lookup number is the primary key. That's it. That's it. Why I chose the looker number to be the primary key? Just like that. I can choose the student ID to be the primary key, not both. One. Okay, guys, actually, this is rare. This is rare to have a relationship with both sides participation total and many to many is somehow rare. But if it exists, this is what you have to do. Questions? Questions? Total is here. If both partial, if both are partial, what we can do? It's 1 to 1, but both partial. In this case, we don't merge. No, we have to create two separate entities. Student and looker. For the student, we have stid. We have st name, and we have st address. For the looker, we have looker number. In case partial, we will create two different relation scheme, and if we have total, yes, that's correct. Now, in case of partial, if any side partial, we have to create two. But the question is where to put the primary key. Do you think I have to take the student number to the locker or take the locker number to the student? When it's partial, it's up to you. When it's partial, you can do whatever. Not both, one of them. So I will take the student number here. SID, student. STID. As what? As a foreign key. So let's go back here. Both total we have said about the both total. Now both partial. Create two relations for each entity set, and you can choose one. You can choose the primary key of any and put it on the other one as foreign key. Now one side is partial and other is total. What we do, let's look at the example. Suppose all students, every student has a locker, but we have so many lockers. Suppose the school has so many lockers, which means every student has locker and more lockers. So all students have lockers. It's total participation here. What we can do. Like what you see here. We have to take the primary key from the total participation side and put it in the partial side. Take the primary key from the total participation side and put it as foreign key in the partial participation side. What if the reverse, like suppose we don't have so many lockers, so all lockers are taken. Some students don't have lockers. If this is the case, we have to take the locker number and put it in the student number. Why we do this? To prevent the null values as much as we can. Look at this case. Suppose we are filling the data. Suppose we are filling the data. You know what? I think I reversed it. Now the total participation on the locker. So we take the student ID and put it here to prevent the null values. So every locker has a student, but not every student has a locker. So I will change. So here one side is partial and another is total. Take the primary key from the partial and put it as foreign key in the total. Okay, like this case. This case is correct. To prevent the null values. Now every locker has a student, but not every student has locker. So if I put the locker here, suppose the locker number here, and we don't have the side here, and this is the case. We don't have this. Look here, this is wrong. This case is wrong. Wrong. Why wrong? Because when we fill the student details, the student name, address, locker number. What if the student doesn't have a locker? What we will put here? What if the student doesn't have a locker? It will be null. But when we remove this from here, and add the student number here, STID, we will not have any null value because every locker has a student. So when we fill the student, we don't have null values. When we fill the locker, every locker has a student. So this column here will never be null. We prevent the null values. When both partial, we can't prevent the null values. So we can prevent the null values when one of them total and the other one is partial. So guys, these are the rules. If you follow these rules, you will create a correct relational scheme. Yes, Vipola. I will share on Moodle for sure. Yes, Vipola, do you want to say anything? Yes.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Sir, actually, my doubt is like in one to many relationship, we put primary key of first side into the many side as a foreign key, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when it comes to the case of weak entity, like in the example in which we have learned author, book, copy, and member.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, in copy is a dependent of book,
Yes.
and book is the owner of copy.
Yes.
Right? So in copy, we are writing the primary key of book.
True.
Because it is the owner of the copy, right?
Yes.
So in that case, ISBN, which is the primary key of book, it will considered as a foreign key of copy.
Yes.
right? So and the relationship between book and copy, it is one to many.
True.
Yeah. So my question is whether the ISBN and copy number both becomes the primary key of copy, or ISBN will become a foreign key as it is one to many condition.
Both. The ISBN
Okay. So
is,
we have.
let me tell you, the ISBN is part of the primary key with the copy, and the ISBN is a foreign key.
So we have to keep underline the down of ISBN, or we should not keep because
Both.
foreign key
Both.
should
No,
not
no, no,
have.
no. The primary key, if it's foreign key as well, we still put underline because it's part of the primary key. But how to represent foreign key? By the arrow. So we represent it as a primary key by the underline. We represent it as a foreign key by the arrow. So that's it. There is no conflict between them.
Okay, 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 understood. Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. Every primary key, every primary key taken from its original and put in another, then it's a foreign key. Either if it's there part of the primary key or not, it is a foreign because this is not its original entity. So, guys, now you understand all rules, and upon these rules, you can do the mapping. You can do the mapping of any ERD. Okay? Let me take a screenshot upon your request here and share it with you. Besides the rules here, file, save, mapping the ERD. Convert the ERD into relational scheme or create the relational scheme depends on the ERD. This is the mapping of the ERD. Let me add these both to Moodle. Screenshot. Okay, and another screenshot here, and another screenshot. What I'm doing? Where is it? What's this? Where am I? I'm here. And another screenshot, which is this one. This one, maybe no, not this one. Is not okay. Doesn't matter. And not a screenshot, a document mapping. Okay, so this one. So guys, from now I'm telling you, after the break, your uh, assignment or your exercise 7, 8, map the ERD of the repair shop. That's it.